Okay, everybody, I'm going to share my screen, get straight into the slides. So welcome everybody, and thank you for joining me today and taking some time out of your day to join me in this this another free training. It's our third in the series. These are chosen by you, so if you're in the group and there's something you want us to cover on these free trainings, then please do share that with us in the group. This is how this one's come about. In fact, all of them. We've had finding clients, we've had social media, and now this is our third, which is VA Tech Essentials for you. So we're going to be covering quite a few things today. I'm going to probably be rattling through, but I am going to record this so that you can have the recording and play it back and press pause and listen, because there is quite a lot to cover in the tech, and I've tried to narrow it down to just 10 pieces of tech to talk about. I'm not going to be diving into how to use them. I'll let you know the job that they do. So I'm going to try and sort of open your eyes to tools that might be out there that you didn't know about that can help you in your business, and you can go off and have a play around with them and see how you get on. The idea is that a lot of these are sharing behind the scenes in advance. All of the ones we're recommending are ones that we either have used or still use, and I'll talk you through how we're using them as we go through each of the recommendations. So I think that one thing that's important to say is that tech can be very overwhelming. Just the very word brings people out in hives. If you're not at all techie, it can be a scary word, and so I want you to get over that, because actually, I don't know, maybe we call it something else, but it's really just software to support you in your business, of which there are literally hundreds of types. There's things coming out onto the market all the time, or upgrades to current and existing software, and I don't want you to get too overwhelmed by this sheer enormity of what's out there and available. So today we're going to be talking about the basics that's needed in your VA business when you start off, and I would really recommend that you look at some of the ones that we've recommended here. Get really familiar with them, and then don't even look at anything else until you're a fully booked out VA and you start needing more things to help you in your business, more things that makes life a bit easier, because then you start, otherwise you can get this shiny object syndrome where you want to jump ship because somebody's talking about this amazing new tool, and you spend all your time learning tech and not doing the client work. So the client work is obviously first and foremost the most important, and as long as these things are designed to support you in your business. Obviously, if you have spare time and you want to learn new tech, and it might be something that you want to deliver as a service, then that's a very different thing. You might want to start diving in deeper into certain techs that are sort of relevant in the industry at this moment. But in the main, in order to run your business, I would just really focus on choosing one of these to do each job in your business, and stick with them until you're really comfortable at delivering a good service to your clients. So please don't feel overwhelmed, and please don't be tempted by the shiny object syndrome like me, and try and make a decision, stick with it, and then learn that really well. And I mean, it will certainly serve you well. It served me well for many years, and some of them I'm still using. Ones I decided on day one, I'm still using today. And I'll talk, as I said, I'll talk you through where I am with all of them as we go through. I guess there's an element of a lot of new VAs, especially, feeling like there's that you need to know it all, and you're overwhelmed because there's this sense of, oh, you need to know it all. There's so much to know, whether that be tech or otherwise, and it stops you from actually getting started at all. And I want you to not be overwhelmed by that, and not worry about what's going on in anybody else's lane. Stay on your track, on your journey, call it what you like. Keep your blinkers on and keep on your road, and just as long as you're moving forward, then you're doing a really great job. It's not about what other people are learning or doing or what anything else. It's about you just moving forward in your business. So don't have this sense of you don't know all the tech. You just need to know a few of these simple things to either help your clients or help you run your business, and they really are quite basic and quite intuitive. once you are brave enough to dive in. Of course, the other thing is that tech's ever evolving, so you're never going to know it all, ever. You know, it doesn't matter how up to date you are with it, things changing regularly, there's updates or there's new tech coming on the market, and you'll never be up to date. So don't feel as though you need to be, and don't let feeling like you're not up to date stop you from moving forward. Hope that makes sense. I was trying to explain myself. So we'll dive in a second. We're going to be covering the basics of what's required in your business, and as I say, choose one, stick with it, and get to know it really, really well. Be comfortable with it, and it'll only be when there's a need in your business that you need it to do something else that you might look elsewhere to change softwares. Okay, so as I say, welcome to our third free training in the series. This is going really well, getting excellent feedback from this free training, so I'm really pleased that it's been helpful for some of you. As I said again, please feedback. Any feedback is welcome, and any thoughts for trainings specifically that you would like us to look at for you, then please pop it in the Facebook group. Okay, so who am I? I'll run through this because most of you know who I am. I'm a military spouse who moved a lot, got fed up of trying to find jobs all the time, and created my VA business. I'm a mum of 3, and I have 2 long-haired miniature dachshunds that are my fur babies now that my big real children are growing up. I have a lot of experience before setting up as a VA, so that really has served me well to deliver a good service to my clients. I got fully booked pretty quickly and started the agency as a result of that. I moved up to delivering OBM services in 2020, and I did the Director of Operations certification in 2021, and now we have a VA agency, a thriving VA agency, and we have the services that I deliver as Director of Operations and little projects around that. And of course, we have the Academy, where we have our signature program and our soon to be launched exciting membership, but more on that later. Okay, so essential VA tools, let's get going. So what we're going to be covering in today's training are the top 10 tools for your VA business, and any hints and tips, and then I'm going to give you an opportunity for a Q&A at the end. So without further ado, we'll get going. So number 1 is time tracking software. Now, I'm really sorry if this seems really obvious and basic. You won't believe it, but I have been doing some one-to-one mentoring with VAs that have been established for a few years, and actually they didn't know about this software. So I really think, just to verbalize it and put it out there, that is our USP, in that we only charge the time that we're working in a client's business. And in order to track that time, there's some fantastic time tracking software that you start it when you're working in the business, and it calculates what it is at the end of the month, and you can use that for your invoicing. So the 2 that I recommend, I started out with Toggl. Both have free versions, and both free versions are really absolutely all you need in the first instance. Really, until you have a team, I'd say the free version is more than enough. So Toggl is they're both very similar in their functionality as well. So Toggl is great. They're both great. Clockify is brilliant. I moved from Toggl to Clockify because I went to the paid for version and preferred what Clockify offered in the paid for version. But in all honesty, on the free version, both do the similar job. If you don't use time tracking software, pick one and go and use it, play around with it, even if you're just using it for your day-to-day stuff, or whilst you're building your business, or just get really familiar and really comfortable with turning it on and off, because that is the only thing, is that you do sometimes forget to turn it off. So you have to do your best guess of when you finish working with that client's business. You can actually integrate it with Trello, which is one we'll come on to later. So you can attach Toggl to Trello, so you can, when you start working in a specific task in your project management software, you can have the timer going, so it actually times when you're completing that specific task. So that's quite a clever way to integrate Toggl with another tool. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I think most of you know about it, but it's a really important one if you don't. So number 2, onto the project management tool. Now this, again, a really important tool. There are so many on the market. I really didn't know which to pick today to talk to you about. I will mention a couple of others, but I have talked about Trello and Asana here. The reason I put Trello and Asana here is that they are the better of they have really great free versions, and so and I think that they appeal to different types of the way that people work. So I'm quite a visual person. I like a good picture, and so I personally like Trello because it's very visual. It's great for creatives. It's great if you need something mapped out in front of you. And I still use the free Trello version today. It's really brilliant. It has its place. That said, I don't really use it for project management so much anymore. I use all of my to-do lists and everything now in ClickUp. But ClickUp is one of the gold standards along with Notion. There are many as Basecamp. There's so many different types of project management softwares, Monday.com, to name but a few. I can't think of any others right now, but there are so many project management tools, and I would suggest that you find one that works for you. You'll probably find that not one does all the jobs, but to find something that is the best fit that's going to work for you, that's the most important thing. The purpose of the project management tool in the first instance, I think, is to help you manage your client work. If you can imagine, when you're sort of 3, 4, 5 clients deep, you've got a lot to hold in your brain, and if your brain's anything like mine, it will struggle with that. So I really recommend that you have a page or a board or per client, and even if you use it in its simplest terms, and just have a to-do list for each client, so that you can quite literally just keep a track of what's on your to-do list for each client, and you don't have to hold it in your head. And I populate that to-do list, or I used to. I don't do it now because I don't do VA work directly, but I used to have a call with the client and pop the to-dos in as we're on the call, and so it just goes straight in there, so I don't drop a ball, and I know what is on my list to do. And you get a sense of the prioritization when you're talking to them as well. And with Trello, you can move things, drag and drop, move things around to suit how you want to prioritize those tasks. Of course, you can set a due by date. That's another way of prioritizing. There's all sorts of ways of using Trello. A basic terms might be a to-do, in progress, for review, and completed. It just simply moves across the board when it's done. Asana is much more a list-oriented tool, and if you're more wordy, I think Asana is better. Both have different ways of viewing it. You can view in Gantt, or you can view in board, or you can view in list. You can view in calendar as well. So the date that you want it done, you can have it. If you had a calendar view, I've worked this way with a client before. She sort of said, I want this done on this day and this done on this day, and it's just sitting all in a calendar, and your tasks are on each day. So that's another way of using these tools. I think the other thing that's important to note here is that it's a really good way of communicating with your client if they're that way inclined. And I would say for every client that's really interested in working in a project management tool, there's one that really isn't interested. And so it's really a 50-50 split. Often anybody remotely techie loves to get in and have a go at how this can help them. Others that are really not techie, and that's why they're bringing you on, are not interested in learning a new tool. And either way is absolutely fine. You just adapt to how they work. Of course, if your client's already using one, then that's what I would suggest you work with them on, is whatever they're using in their business. And you might have to get up to speed on a new tool pretty quickly, but ultimately they do a lot of the same thing, just some have a lot more functionality, like ClickUp and that. So the way that a client can work with you is that you can be invited to the same project management tool, and you can communicate within each task. They could even pop a task in for you, so you can see that they've put something that they want done and they want a due date by it for it. And I do always recommend that you encourage your clients to put due dates on the tasks if they're going to put them in, because we as VAs, we're people pleasers and we want to get stuff done, and we tend to feel hugely overwhelmed if suddenly the clients just put 10 tasks in the project management tool, but what they fail to tell you is, actually I don't need half of them until next month. And you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get these done by the end of the week. So it's a communication thing. As you know, I bang on and on about communication working as a VA, but if you can train yourself and or your client to put in due dates, then it really helps to manage your time and your overwhelm. So yeah, it's a great way to work with clients, and whether they choose to collaborate with you in the tool or not, I really recommend that you have a project management tool for each client. And as I say, these two are really, really good for the free versions. There's lots of add-ons that you can put on. I think they're called, what are they called, level ups? No, something ups, forgotten. For Trello, where you can integrate it with other things and have it do many other tasks. So yeah, why don't you have a look at both and have a play around and see which you prefer. Okay, on to number 3, financial software. This is another really important one in your own business. I am not a fan of people creating an invoice either in Word or Canva or whatever, because there's so much chance for it to go wrong or it to get lost. I would really, really recommend using software that will automatically, sequentially give out invoice numbers, which is a requirement for HMRC. Every single invoice has to have its own individual invoice number, and there's a risk if it's in Word or in Canva that you forget to change the number to the next one. There's also a risk if you in Canva if you overwrite one. I mean, it's essential that you PDF it. Never send a Word document as an invoice at the very least, but there's no excuse really for not using a software. And when I first started out, there was a software called Wave, actually, or there is a software called Wave that is really good for free accounting software, but it's now they've just made it only available to people in the States. So if you're in the States, then that's something that you can look into, but it's not available to us in the UK anymore. But that said, in terms of just sending out invoices, there's the software called Invoicing. It's pretty basic, but it does the job. And I just think it's so much more professional sending out your invoices, whether that be to your lead VA or directly to your clients. It doesn't matter. It keeps it automatically gives it its own invoice number, and it's just so much easier to stay abreast of everything. Equally, you can see in one place what's been paid and what hasn't been paid, and it's just a much more professional service to your clients. So please don't send out Word documents, please, as an invoice. Please use a software. Xero is what we progressed onto. It's a brilliant gold standard accounting software. It integrates with your bank. So I have my live bank feeds and any other financial software that we're using. So we use Go Cardless, Stripe, PayPal, I think that's it, and we have 2 bank accounts, and all 5 of them can feed into Xero, and you can see the activity and live, and you can therefore reconcile what's going on in the bank and not miss anything. This is a paid for service. It's about £26 a month, I think. There is a cheaper version, depends on how many transactions you do a month, but I would say on basic terms you're probably looking at £26 a month for Xero. There are others. There's QuickBooks, which is also apparently equally as good. It's not one I know well, but I know you have your QuickBooks accounts and your Xero accounts. I'm in the Xero camp, but they do exactly the same job. And if you're a NatWest banker, I believe you get one called Free Agent for free. That's also comes highly recommended. Again, not one I'm familiar with, but it does do all of the jobs. And once Xero does so much more than Invoicing. So Invoicing purely is just sending out your invoices, but Xero does everything. And the government, if you're in the UK, HMRC have introduced something called MTD, which is making tax digital, and they brought it in for the bigger organisations who've got to now submit their quarterly returns digitally. So now it is a requirement, it's not a choice anymore, and they are bringing that in for sole traders as well. To do your tax returns, they're going to want it digitally. Now, they have just extended the deadline. I believe it was going to be next year. Now they're talking about 2024 because of all of the COVID and everything that's going on. And they're giving people a bit more breathing space to get themselves up. But there will come a time in 2024 that you're going to have to submit your tax returns digitally to HMRC. This is in the UK. And something like Xero does that at a press of a button. So just bear in mind that you're going to have to move to something like that in the future. I think that demand might make other softwares, maybe more affordable ones, come in or then give you that capability. But at the moment, to my knowledge, and I'm not an expert on this, I'm telling you from my day-to-day experience in my own business, Xero and QuickBooks and what did I say, Free Agent are ones that definitely do that. But as I say, I can only speak for Xero because it's what we use in the business, and I definitely love it. It tells us it's all sorts of reports and all sorts in there. It's a very, very helpful tool, but I appreciate that when you're first starting out, it isn't the gold standard that you need straight away, certainly whilst we're not having to make tax digital. So I hope that makes sense and give you a few insights there of what's coming up in the industry. So on to number 4. I knew this would take time because I just love talking about stuff like this. I'm going to have to hurry up on time, taking up all your time. So number 4 is digital contract software. So you probably have experience receiving a contract which you sign digitally. And I really encourage you for best practice and to look professional again. And that's really important to us in advance. You know, our word of the year, and in fact, our word overall is excellence. We want to deliver excellence to our clients. We want to deliver excellence to you. We want to deliver excellence to our students. Excellence is really important. And in order for you to be a professional looking VA, I really recommend, well, certainly you should have contracts. There's no legal requirement for you to have a contract, but I would definitely recommend you have a contract so that it protects both you and your client. And in order to get that contract signed by your client, to use contract signing software. Now, we started off with actually HelloSign, which I absolutely love HelloSign. It's really very intuitive, very simple, and just brilliant at what it does. And the free version is all that you need, and it really does the job brilliantly. The only downside to it is that when you get a bit busier, I think you only get 3 free signings per month. It used to be 5, I think it's 3 now. And when I got busier, that got tricky because I had more than 3 to do in a month. And especially when I got to the point that we were taking on associates in the team, of course, I wanted my associates to sign a contract as well. And so each new client sometimes meant 2 contracts to be signed. And so I signed up with DocuSign as well, and which is equally as good as HelloSign. And I use my 3 free or 5 free templates in there per month as well. So I recommend both of those. And if you get to the point where you need more than 3 in a month, then start an account with the other one and try and do that for the time being. That's how I did it for quite some time. As I say, you did used to get 5, but I think it's 3 now. And then I moved on to Dubsado, and Dubsado is again another sort of gold standard tool that is like a CRM, and it's an all-in-one place. You can actually even invoice from Dubsado as well, and you can have no, it doesn't have time tracking, does it? But ClickUp has time tracking. But Dubsado is but it's quite a beast and quite a big thing to learn Dubsado. That in the basic terms, it's a CRM. It stores all of your contacts. You can have a funnel, a sales funnel, and people going through that may or may not sign with you, and you can send out contracts and they can sign it, and it saves it in their portal. And so it does so much more for you. But one of the big beauties of Dubsado is you can create workflows and you can automate a lot of your onboarding process, but that's a conversation for another day. But we have moved on to Dubsado now for all of our contract signing. But I hope that's helpful for you. So number 5 is a calendar scheduler. So again, this is a really good little tool. Most of you will know about these, but most of your clients don't. And they think that you're a genius because you know about these things. There's so many, especially if you're going to work with people like an individual coach, for example, they have no idea that some of these tools are out there that can help them. And they just think that you are the bee's knees because you're introducing them to things that save them so much time and effort. I can think of an example with a coach that we started working with, and he was coaching lawyers, and he used to interview 10 of their colleagues for each lawyer that he was coaching, and had to set up appointments with those 10 people. And he was getting into such a muddle because he was trying to do it himself, and he was setting a time and date, and then they couldn't make it, and emails were toing and throwing and bat and ball, and oh gosh, you lose where you are with who's doing what and when. And he hadn't heard of these amazing scheduling tools where I love Calendly. I still use Calendly to an extent today, but again, Dubsado does this for me, so I actually use Dubsado in the main, but I do keep my Calendly account open because it has its values for me as well. It's really helpful. Acuity is another new one. I can't speak to it really deeply because I haven't used it deeply myself, but it is one that a lot of my colleagues use, and they recommend that. But let me talk to you about Calendly and what it does and how it works. So essentially you can set up your calendar in Calendly, and you can, let's say you start off with putting when you're available to work, and say you might want to, you'll definitely want to set up a calendar invite called discovery calls. And for your discovery calls, that's your first call with a client to see if you're going to be a good fit. I usually do 45 minutes. Some people do 30. I personally like to get to know them on a personal level, and I want to allow enough time for that, but it's up to you. And so your discovery call is that very first call when they say, oh, I'm interested in some BA work. You have that call to see if you're a good fit, and you try and sell them your services. Now, to stop the bat and ball of trying to set a time, you would set up an appointment called Discovery Calls in Calendly. Again, it's a free tool. You don't need the paid for version. And you can set the parameters as you want them to be. So you can set how long the call is. You can set a buffer before and afterwards. So you always want, let's say, 10-15 minutes to be prepared for the call mentally, have that space before the call, and maybe 15 minutes afterwards to make sure you've got all the notes down. So you can put a buffer before and afterwards to give you that time. You can choose to only ever allow one in a day because they may be a bit overwhelming and you don't want back-to-back discovery calls, or maybe you do, I don't know, it's up to you. You can have as many in a day as you want. You can set the times of days and which days that you're available for discovery calls. So it might be that you've decided I'm only doing Tuesday and Thursday afternoons for discovery calls, and you can set that up in Calendly, and they can only book in those slots for those discovery calls. But it talks to your calendar. I'm a Google fan, so it talks to my Google Calendar, and if I'm already busy, it knows that they can't book in at that time. So it's a really, really good tool. You just get a link, they click the link, have a look at a time that suits them, pop it in, and then it asks if they want to put it automatically into their diary. It automatically puts it into your diary, and you can set it up to send a reminder, don't forget our call at so-and-so time, and here's the link. You can put your Zoom link in there as well if you want to, or whatever, however you choose to be talking to them, like phone, Zoom, whatever, Skype, and that's already in the invite, and it's all done for you. So again, best practice, and to look like you're delivering a professional service, definitely get yourself set up with Calendly. There are other types of calls that you'll use it for. I have one called Coffee Chat, and that's to catch up with my business besties. And I have kickoff calls, so that's a kickoff call with new clients. That's when you're actually getting started working together. I have review calls, so that's to review things with clients. You know, various things that you can set up. So please go ahead and play around with that. I love Calendly, I think that you will too. And as I say, it'll be a brilliant tool to bring to your clients as well. Okay, on to number 6. I'm just going to take a drink and get this all throat. So the other thing is video conferencing. Another pretty essential tool, I would say, in your VA business. Now, most of us, thanks to COVID and having to work from home and having to teach children from school, homeschool children, a lot of us know all about Zoom and video conferencing tools now. So I won't go too much into these tools. I personally like Zoom, even though I use Google for everything. I love Google for everything, but I don't like Google Hangouts. But it's simple and quick and easy, Google Hangouts, but I'm just not a fan. And so I use Zoom for my business. I actually now have the paid for version. You get up to, if there's more than 2 of you on a call, then you only get 40 minutes call on the free version. So I obviously need more than that, and so I have the paid for version now, but the free version is definitely good enough for quite some time. Google Hangouts is free with Google, so maybe you like that. There are many others. There's Skype, Microsoft Teams if you're an MS user. So really up to you, whichever you like, but you're definitely going to need one. And Zoom is where I conduct all of my video conferencing. So whether it's my discovery calls, my coffee chats, my training, these trainings, everything is on Zoom for me, and that's what I personally like. And again, there's quite a few parameters that you can set up, you know, whether people can they come in with mute on or video off, or you know, record it or not record it or whatever. There's so many opportunities that you can set up with your Zoom. Now there is a lovely little hack. And for those of you that have signed up to this free training, we've created a lovely little download for you, which will come out in an email. And there's a great little hack in there of how to do something with Zoom. So on number 7, I'm completely honest with you. I don't know if there must be more password softwares than LastPass. I've never needed to look for them because I'm very happy with LastPass. LastPass is somewhere where you can store all your passwords, so whether it's your own personal ones, your family ones, your business ones, you can store card details, and it's very, very secure. It's 2-factor authentication on it, and I recommend that any passwords that are shared with you from your clients, that you store them in LastPass to keep them really secure. And I usually set up a folder for each client, and then I store all of their passwords in that folder. And then if there's any reason why they've lost theirs, or a bit like you're probably used to with Apple or Google, where it pre-populates already saved passwords from the cookies. LastPass will do that if you've got it open. It'll generate passwords for you. It's just a really handy and helpful tool, and I think again another best practice thing is to make sure that you are really taking seriously the storage of your client passwords. So I recommend LastPass. There probably are others, but as I say, I haven't needed to venture out to see. I'm very happy with what that does. So number 8, screen recording. Now you might think this is a bit of a funny one. Why would you need that? I use it a lot because of the training element of the business. But I want to let you in on a few little tips that you mightn't have thought about. So screen recording is exactly what it says on the tin. It's recording what you're doing on a screen, and you can either just have just the screen, you can have the screen with you in a little window somewhere, or you can have just you and then toggle to the screen. It's quite clever little software. I like Loom. I believe, and I have played a bit with QuickTime, which is for Macs, but I generally don't use Mac in my day-to-day, but I do have a laptop that's Mac. So they're 2 that I particularly like. I have the paid for version of Loom. I'm just trying to think if there is a free option. Something I'm going to have to check. I can't remember off the top of my head. Loom is a great little tool for doing exactly what I just said. It records the screen, records you and the screen, whatever. Now, ways that you might use it, even if you haven't got a team or you're not training people, well, what I think is a brilliant idea is if, you know, if you're doing your your marketing, and you know, in the finding clients I talked about in that session in free training number 1, I talked about making sure that you're in Facebook groups and you are giving value, you know. So if somebody says, oh, does anybody know how to do XYZ, and you know how to do it, I always give value in these Facebook groups, because you're building that know, like, trust. And when they start seeing your name and you're familiar with them, guess who they're going to go to? They need to recommend or want a VA themselves. It's going to be your name that pops up. So they'll see that you're building authority because you know what you're talking about, and they're getting to know you, hopefully like you and trust you. But one really good little tip is that you could create a little Loom video of how to do something like really quick, and you'll see from our fab download that that's exactly what I've done for you guys. There's a few little 2-minute videos of like, oh, this is how I suggest you do it. Okay, and that's a really good little tip that you could do for potential clients that you come up across and you're answering questions for them. Like, oh, like, bear with me, let me create a little Loom video for you. That is just valuable. That's gold. You will be forever remembered to them. So that's another reason why Loom is good. And in the same vein, you know, once you have onboarded a client, you could create a little Loom video welcoming them to your business. So that's another lovely touch. Like, or if you send out a proposal, like, hi, Joe Blogs, it was lovely to have our discovery call today. I loved meeting you today. I loved hearing about your business, particularly interested in this, this, and this. I really feel this is where I can help you. This is what I heard you need help with, you know, whatever you want to say, but it's a really lovely little way of just adding that extra value by sending out a Loom video. So that's why I've put it in here now. It might be premature if you're in your really early stages, but if you're looking to really up-level your customer service and your client experience, that's a really lovely way to do it, and so easy to do. So yeah, the screen recording. On to number 9, we're getting through them now, and that's graphics. And I couldn't do a tech training without talking about Canva. Canva is we did a little chat, I don't know if you saw it in the Facebook group. It's like, what's your favorite tools? And most of us struggle to choose one, but I think Canva is one of my favorite tools, because whilst I'm not in it every day, it's such a valuable tool. It does so much. It's so intuitive. It makes making graphics, unless you're a graphic designer, of course, this might not be for you, but it makes making graphics so easy to do, and you can create something really professionally looking in really quite such a short time. And I have the pro version of Canva, and it's the best £10 a month I spend, because we use it all the time. But you certainly don't need to have the pro version when you start out. The sorts of benefits you get with the pro version are you get a lot more images that you can use for free, and you'll see when you've got the free version, it'll say that it's a pro in the little corner, and you think, oh, I can't use that one unless I pay for it. So, but Canva's absolutely brilliant, really intuitive. There's so much you can do. You can create, it's got all of the templates. It's got lots of ideas. So if you wanted to do a workbook or a proposal or graphics for your social media, there's just so many things there that's available to you to just make life easier if you're not a graphic designer. I mean, I'm quite arty crafty. I did do 2 years at art college. So I have a bit of an idea, but even whether you've got a bit of an idea or not, it's just brilliant. I mean, if you're a professional graphic designer, you're going to want Adobe and stuff like that, and that's a whole other ball game and very expensive. So I really love Canva. On our course, there's a few tools that I really encourage our students to download and play around with whilst we're doing the training. And the first 2 are the time tracking software and Trello. I encourage people to play around with those and get used to using them. And then partway through the course, we introduce a couple more tools, and Canva is one of them. And they always love it. And there's so many people that love to create little things for, you know, their kids' school or birthday cards or whatever it is. So yeah, a lot of people love the introduction to Canva. Okie dokie. On to number 10. I think I may have more than 10 things, because I just remember warming up to all that. Anyway, let's carry on through the slides. So email marketing. Now, when I first started out, I wondered why on earth I wanted to do email marketing. It just didn't see why I needed to do it. So I learned that the hard way, and I try and teach people in the course that, well, that's the whole point. I'm trying to teach you so that you don't make the pitfalls that I make. It's really great to build an email list of potential clients. So if you're talking to them in social media, you want to always have a call to action. And if your call to action might be, comment below, or, I've got a freebie like 10 ways you can work effectively with a virtual assistant, and that's how you can find clients. And then they think, oh, I need that. I've been thinking about having a virtual assistant. I'm going to get that download. And so you want something like an email marketing software where you can automate all of this activity. So you create what's called an opt-in form, which is where you put your email, and they sign up to your email list essentially. And you've got to be mindful of GDPR here, but I'm not going to go into that now. But using an email marketing software will help you to remain compliant. So people will say, oh, I want that freebie that they're giving away because I'm thinking about working with a VA. And they sign up on your opt-in form, and then they get delivered into their inbox the freebie that they've asked for. Now, in doing that, you've collected their email address, and that's the purpose of this. And why do you want that? Well, obviously they are interested in you, and you can store their email address because they've shown a what's the phrase? They have a legitimate interest in your business. They've actually opted in to your business, so you can store that email address based on GDPR. That said, any communications that go out, you have to give them the option to unsubscribe. So that's why these softwares are really good, because they do all of that automatically for you. So you will store all of those email addresses of people that downloaded your freebie, and then you've got a little list of people who might be interested in working with a VA because they've downloaded your How to Work with a VA freebie. And so you collect these emails, and then it's about nurturing them and keeping them as a warm lead, and keep giving them value. And then, as I said, similar to before, they get to the point that they know, like, trust you, and then they buy from you. That's kind of how it works. It's not an overnight thing. You have to gently warm your leads up and nurture them. And a lot of that process can be done through the email marketing software. Now, I used MailerLite in the first instance. I really like it. There's plenty on the market, but I really like it. It's really intuitive. There's another element of drag and drop, and it's quite simple one. But there are others, and another one I really like is ActiveCampaign, and that just has the functionality to do so much more, which I haven't got the time to go into now. But they're both two really good ones that I like. As I say, there are so many on the market that it's a matter of finding what works for you and sticking with it, as I said from the beginning. And then just if you get to a point where MailerLite doesn't offer you the functionality that you need, then it's time to look to upgrade. Okay, yeah, I thought I had 12. So 11 is social media scheduling. So this is what it says on the tin. When you've got social media posts that you want to go out, you can use a software like Hootsuite or Planoly. Again, there's so many. There's Later. There's I can't think. So many different ones now that you can pop all of your social media posts into, and you can schedule them to go out into your Facebook feed, your Facebook group, your LinkedIn account, your Instagram account. Some don't do Instagram, some don't do this, some don't do that. You might need more than one, but essentially what I encourage you to do is to create all of your social media at the beginning of the month, and then schedule it to go out. On the free versions, certainly this was the case with Hootsuite, I don't know now, I think you could only have up to, I don't know whether it's 10 posts scheduled at one time, so you'd have to go in a couple of times within the month to schedule them. But once they're scheduled, you can just not worry about stuff going out on the regularity that you want to, but always be mindful that it might generate some conversation. You must go back and engage people who might engage with you on your posts. But yeah, so definitely look into social media scheduling. And as I say, the free versions, they're probably enough for you at the moment if you've got time to just pop back in and schedule some more throughout the month. And I think this is finally number 12. I wanted to talk to you about communication. Now, communications as a VA is essential. Obviously, there's so many that's really obvious. I wasn't going to go into those, like your email or Zoom or whatever. But I wanted to just tell you about these couple of tools that I really like. There are some other good ones on the market as well now. But Slack is essentially, I've introduced that to, I have it in our business, but I also have introduced it to clients who've got a remote team. So if they've got people all over the country or world and they need to communicate, it's a really, really good tool to have the whole team communicate in one place, because what you would create is like a channel. They're called channels, and maybe you want to communicate a channel called marketing, and in that channel there's only people relevant to marketing, and all communications about marketing are in there, and you can look back over who said what and when, and you can find that thread of information really easily, whereas it can easily get buried in your inbox and it's not in a relevant thread. So it's really good for that type of thing. We use it in our agency, and we have a thread for each client. And when we're talking about a specific client, we can talk within that channel. So Slack's a really good one. You might not need it in your own business for just you, and you might want to speak to your client that way, I don't know. But you might want to introduce it to clients that you work with who've got a remote team. And the other thing I've put on here is Boxer, but there are another couple of other really good tools coming that are out now that people are loving, which is Telegram, and the other one's escaping me. What's the other one? Oh, Discord. So the way that Boxer works is that it's like a walkie-talkie. That's how they promote themselves. And you basically hold down, I'm doing this, you can't see me, hold down the button and talk, and it wings its way over to the person you're talking to. And if they're live at that time, it comes out live to them, and then they can talk back to you. And it's kind of like, it's almost like they're in the room, but you haven't had to dial a number or anything. You can just have a conversation two-way by holding it down and discussing it. If they're not live at that time, it will sit there until they read it. You can use it like a text as well. But for me, who's not a touch typist, I find it a really helpful tool, and it's one that I offer my one-to-one mentoring. You know, if they want to contact me or just a quick question, rather than try and find a time that we can both do in the diary, and it's just, excuse me, a really quick how I can quickly answer questions for them whilst they're on the go, and hopefully I'm not kept them waiting too long. So another tool I just wanted to share with you. So we reached the end. Does anyone have any questions before we move on? I'm aware that I've taken up quite a lot of your time already. You can put them in the chat if you have any questions. All good, no questions. Well, if anything comes up, you can always ask in the group, or I'll keep an eye on this chat here. But if there's anything that comes up for you, then pop it in the group. Okay, now, as I mentioned a couple of times, a bonus for those that have signed up to this free training today is that we've created a little download called 5 Tech Hacks. And in it, there's a few little Loom videos on some little things that might just make your day-to-day life a bit easier as a VA. So that will be coming out in an email. So that's just for you. Don't tell anyone. It's a special little thank you for turning up and signing up to this free training. So look out for that in your inbox. And I want to thank you for joining me. I really appreciate you giving up your time today to listen to this. And I hope it's been helpful. I really hope you've taken some things away from this chat today. I will see you next month for another training. I don't think we've identified what that's going to be yet. We've got a few ideas in the pipeline. And yeah, that's it really. So once again, thanks again for joining. No questions, and thank you for the training. Welcome. Yes, thanks for joining me, and thanks for those who joined live. Thanks for those of you listening later. Really appreciate you taking the time out to listen to this. As I say, I hope you've got some value. please drop into the Facebook group and give any feedback. I welcome feedback, both positive and constructive. Really want to be helpful. The whole point of this is to help you deliver a better service and gain confidence as a VA. So that's the idea. Hope that's of value, and have a lovely rest of your day. In fact, lovely rest of your week. And if you've got any ideas for future trainings, again, pop it in that Facebook group. Have a good day, everyone, and we'll say goodbye for now. Take care. Bye.